Prior to the year 2019, the Afcon was only made up of 16 teams. And then after 2019, or should I say from 2019, the competition was expanded to 24 of the best on the African continent. Today, we continue with the countdown and we dissect Group B, where we have record holders Egypt in that group, alongside the Black Stars of Ghana, who have won the competition 4 times, Mozambique, who are making a return, as well as the Sharks, that being Cape Verde. But I don't know much about them. To give us a little bit more insight, I do it with my partner in crime, Barry White, the heavyweight of the airwaves, Brian Mofokeng.
How are you doing today?
Why did you pause?
I'm just enjoying everything. You know? So it's like, and somebody starts saying, the heavyweight, Barry White. Like, oh.
Is that me?
She's talking about me?
Listen, and I know probably at home people are seeing our new set.
Yeah.
I'm getting accustomed to it, so I might look a bit awkward. Do bear with me.
Yeah.
But Brian, basically this is because school is in session, class is in session. We're counting down to the Afcon, but we're doing it in the right way possible. All ears, all hands on deck, because we're giving stats, we're giving facts, and this is information that will be really pertinent when the competition kicks off.
You couldn't have said it better. I mean, if you talk about the African continent, talking about the Afcon, the history is such a rich history that you need to start really talking about it, enjoying and celebrating being Africans.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's do it in the best way possible, the right way possible. We kickstart with that trivia question that we gave you last week. The trivia question, we asked you, how many times has Côte d'Ivoire hosted the Africa Cup of Nations prior to them hosting next year?
Way back, 1984. Only time they hosted the tournament. So this is the second time they're hosting the tournament. And I tell you, there are some nations who are there. Only 8 nations played in a particular tournament. Some are here, some are not there.
Yeah.
This year around.
The answer to the question, as Brian has said it, is 1 time, which is when they've hosted. So this will be their second time when they will come back and host the Africa Cup of Nations out in their beautiful country, that being Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you so much for playing along with us. Make sure that you join in the fun this week as we have another question for you. Women's football fanatics, get onto your feet because this one is definitely for you. We are asking you, Janine van Wyk recently broke the record of being the most capped player on the African continent as she capped 185 as she bowed out of the game. Prior to that, who held the record?
Can tell you one thing, the record was there for 11 years. Broken by a South African female. And she is by far the most kept male or female on the continent.
So who is it?
You tell us, and you tell us who did he play for, or she play for.
Yeah, well, quickest fingers first, make sure that you send in your answers on social media. It is at Fut-Afrique, use the hashtag, the only one that matters, hashtag Fut-Afrique. As I said, we are dissecting Group B, a group that really sees the return of Mozambique. The last time that they competed within the Afcon was back in the year 2010, so somewhat a 13-year hiatus, Brian. This should mean something to them. It is
a big one if you talk about the fact that last time they were there was in 2010. It was hosted by Angola, by the way, another former Portuguese country that hosted it. And that was the same year when Egypt last won the tournament. So the last time they were there. And also Ghana got to the final that year. So, so many things are coming in this competition. And what makes this group interesting, Itu, is the fact that you have so many countries who have met each other before. At least been once. For some of the nations, Cape Verde Island met in a competition against Ghana in 2013. If you remember Ghana then, we're still calling them the Bagana.
Yes.
So they met Cape Verde Island, who actually making their debut on that particular year. They got to the quarterfinals. They did very well. So they're making a return again this time around. You're talking about Mozambique returning after having been there the last time. It was in 2010. They already met Ghana and Egypt at this competition before. Egypt and Ghana story, it's a very big story to talk about. I mentioned the 2010 tournament that happened in Angola as well, was when a man called Ghetto scored a winner for the Egyptians on that time, which was their 7th title overall that they won. So it is going to be very interesting because so much it relies on who takes the victory first in the opening match of the groups, and number 2, who wants it more.
Yeah. who wants it more? If you're going to ask me, I'm definitely going to say Egypt wanted more, obviously, and we'll talk about them a bit later, the resurrection of them and them missing out within the finals in the last edition of the Afcon. But when it comes to Mozambique and them meeting up with Egypt, it seems that every time in which they've met within this competition, it's always a 2-0 victory for Egypt.
It has been that. I mean, if you talk about that, you talk about the first time they met was 1986 when they met against that is Egyptians, and it was Abu Zaid who scored a brace on the day, and Egypt walked away victorious 2-0. It was in Cairo. They were the host nation of that particular competition. 1998 in Burkina Faso, they were in the groups once again. That is Mozambique as well as Egypt, and Hossam Hassan Hussein, who became the joint top scorer that year with Benny McCarthy, scoring 7 goals, was one of the player that actually scored, and they actually scored a brace as well. Then you go back to 2010. Gero, I mentioned he scored in the final. He scored also during it was a goal he scored during the group stages. It was also an own goal scored by a Mozambican player in that match. Mozambique are yet to win a game at the Afcon. So that's something to be chasing. They only have got 2 draws overall. In the previous edition they played in the Afcon tournament. This is their 5th appearance overall. In the previous 12 matches, 2 wins and 10 losses. And 4 of those losses have come against either Ghana or the Egyptians. So it's a big one for them. But what is very important also is that I spoke about the 1986 team. The man in charge of Mozambique played for Mozambique in the Afcon tournament previously. So he comes here with a heavy record. Score to settles, number 1, that is, he comes into this tournament. So he knows exactly what to expect, but it's also very good when you got an indigenous player or former player sitting on the bench, because he will come up and say,
with aspirations of doing better than what he did, right?
Exactly. But also, he's already done something most coaches fail to do. He has gotten them back on the African continent in the Afcon tournament.
It's taken a while.
It's a big thing. It's a huge thing. They qualified, remember, the last day. They were in Group L alongside Senegal. That is Mozambique. They qualified on the last day. Senegal managed to do very well in their group, and they already qualified way before we even got to the last few matches of the qualifiers. In fact, Senegal qualified in March of this year, while Mozambique qualified on match number 6 of the qualifiers.
Up against Benin.
For them to eventually book their ticket to come into this competition. So it is going to be very interesting to see how they're going to be able to fight out, how they're going to be able to get here. The 5th tournament already, as I mentioned. Now, the big question comes in to say, can they at least do one thing?
Secure
win their first game.
That is the big question we're asking Mozambique, the Mambas of Mozambique, that is. We are asking them, can they at least secure a victory within the Afcon? As Brian has said it, they have not been able to register a win within this competition. Here they are after 13 years away from it. They have a man leading them at the helm, a man who has played within the competition, a man who was part of the great feats that they have. I mean, for them, it's good.
86, 96, 98, he was there.
He was there. So what can he do? What will he bring? Does he have aspirations of getting the team to do better than what they did when he was still a player?